Welcome back to Cryptos Are Us. I am George. Special live stream warning, do not do this during the Bitcoin dump. And that is what we're seeing now. Kind of. Now, I did stream earlier today, but welcome back. I'm streaming again because I'm seeing a lot of newcomers in this space that's getting a little worried. People that haven't been in the game like the rest of us for a while. So I want to reassure you guys and tell you guys what not to do during these times. And Bitcoin, yes, can be volatile. It does have up and downs. And that is the purpose of the stream. Let me show you guys what has happened, what probably will happen, and what you really do not want to do during these kind of situations. So, thanks for tuning in, guys. As always, I normally have these streams 11 a.m. Central Standard Time, but this weekend a little bit different. In fact, I just had a stream not too long ago, just a few hours ago, right? But things have changed a little bit more. Things got a little bit more dicey, so I'm streaming again. But I will be streaming tomorrow, so don't miss it. All right. Smash up the like, subscribe to the channel, and let's get started. Those of you guys that's already in the channel, welcome. Welcome. All right. So let me bring up my screen here. Where's my screen? Here we go. This is where Bitcoin is at right now. 35,720. And, when I was streaming earlier today, I think I was streaming around 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock. Probably not optimal time for streaming, because that's when everyone was, basically watching football. And at the beginning of the stream, it was about 36, 37,000. At the end of the stream, it went down to about 35,000. It was right around here. You know what? And I was telling you guys, hey, this is perfectly normal, right? This happens with Bitcoin. You want to be buying during these downturns. These are gifts, right? And shortly afterwards, we had a pretty good bounce all the way back up to 39,000. Think about it. 34,000, 35, 39,000. That's how quick things can move. It went up basically 5,000 points within a few hours. And something like that could certainly be happening. So what is going on, right? Why did Bitcoin go down? Let's concentrate on that first. Why did Bitcoin fall down from 41, 42,000 anyways? Shouldn't it just be going up to the moon forever? Like, it should just literally go up straight up and it should never come down. Shouldn't that what Bitcoin be doing? No, that's not how things work. Even as parabolic as Bitcoin has been, and yeah, that's as parabolic as you can be, there will be times where Bitcoin takes a breather and dips. When you zoom out, it's very hard to notice. But when you zoom in, you'll realize, yeah, there are periods where Bitcoin takes a breather, and that is perfectly normal, okay? And to show you what I'm talking about, let's just zoom back a little bit. Let's just look at how much profit was lost, how much gains was lost during this time, right? Falling back down to 35, 34,000. So how long has Bitcoin been above this point? Do we go back 5 months? Do we go back a year? Do we go back 2 years? Well, looking at this, the last time Bitcoin was at this level was January 6th. So approximately 4 days ago. So just to put things in perspective, we are at the same level that we were at 4 days ago. Okay, and if you go beyond 4 days, we were much lower, around 30,000-ish. So, number one, for those of you guys that are panicking, right? Bitcoin is only set back 4 days ago. Not 4 months ago, not 6 months ago, not 4 years ago. Just 4 days ago. And that kind of puts things into perspective how fast Bitcoin has been moving recently, right? So, that's number one. Number two is this kind of drop, this percentage is actually pretty good and pretty healthy. And we just saw something like this happen. And afterwards, guess what? We had a huge pump up. So in fact, this is what we want to see. This is actually the type of thing we want to see before Bitcoin is ready to move to 50,000 or 60,000. Bear with me. Yes, this is what we want to see. If Bitcoin just kind of kept hovering around 41, 42, 41, 42, 41, 42, and just kind of hovered, actually that was not healthy because of how fast Bitcoin has run. So this actually resets things a little bit and makes things much better, make Bitcoin much more prepared for the next leg up. So let me show you. So look at this, right? When Bitcoin broke 30,000, and that was not too long ago. So when it first broke it was January 2nd. Keep in mind, we're only January 10th right now. So we're not like mid-January. We're not end of January. The month barely begun. So January 2nd, right after New Year's, that's when Bitcoin shot up from 30,000 all the way to 34,000. And that was a big jump, over 10%. Kind of hovered there, and then guess what? We did have a little correction here. And let's take a look. What is that percentage, right? From 34,000 all the way down to where it eventually ended up about 27.7. Guess what? That's about a 20% drop, right? At that time, people also thought it was a little scary. Why did we go down 20%? Well, because Bitcoin shot up just too fast, right? Sometimes you need to take a breather because look at the times before. It hovered at 24,000 for a long time and then hovered at below 30,000 for a little bit longer, a little bit shorter. But then, we shot up to 34K so fast. So that was about 20% drop. So we hovered there, right? Afterwards, we jumped up, kind of hovered sideways for maybe a day. And then guess what happened? The next leg started and happen. And that's when we went from 30,000 all the way up to $42,000. So what kind of run is that? I mean, let's just do the math here. 30,000 all the way up to 42,000. Yeah, that's a 40% rise. That is tremendous. That's a 40% rise within basically 2 days. 2 days. Right? So that's what I'm saying. When you have a correction like this, that's actually fantastic. That's actually exactly what you want because it resets things. It then allows Bitcoin to skyrocket and form a new high and make the next leg up. So what did we just see today? So let's just measure that from top. Let's go from 42,000, right? Roughly 42,000 to the bottom here. Around 33,400. Oh, look at that. 20%. Almost identical to the last drop, right? Look at that. That's not a coincidence because that's pretty much the extent of what the whales can do. That this is pretty much the limit of what they can do in terms of causing fear and uncertainty and doubt, right? Trying to panic sell, trying to get people to panic sell. But unfortunately, you got so much buyers that's buying up. That's why every time when this happens now, we just recover right back up, right? So what does this mean? Does this mean that we're going to see a similar gain right around the corner? Maybe. This went up 40% afterwards, right? Bitcoin went up 40% afterwards. So I already drew 50,000. I don't know if it's going to be the same thing, but let's just do it for fun. Let's just say from this point on, and we go up 40%. You know what? That would put Bitcoin around $47,000. 47,000. That's not too shabby. But that's, when I did this 40%, I did it at the previous support, right? So I should actually do that from the previous support, which would be 34.5. So let's move this back up and then move this up. 40% is roughly 48,500, close enough to $50,000. So what does that mean? Well, that means the next stop for Bitcoin can be at $50,000, which could come within this new week. By the end of the week, we could see Bitcoin do exactly the same thing where it just does this, right? Bitcoin comes up really, really, really fast. And that's because there's a lot of people buying behind the scenes. So Warning, my title, warning, don't do this. Don't do this during a Bitcoin dump like this. And I know dump is exaggeration, okay? But I did it to shock people, all right? Because people are looking for shock words at this point. But don't do this, meaning do not panic sell. This is exactly what the whales want, okay? There's actually a definition for this called a bear raid. So there is a definition for this, and this is actually illegal. So for stocks, if there are people caught doing this, they would get into major trouble from the SEC. But unfortunately, this is crypto world, right? So the SEC is not looking at this, but this is exactly what the whales want you to do, to sell your Bitcoins to them, to give up your wealth and transferring it to them, because they know their days are numbered, because the institutions are just taking everything from them. So they're doing this as they can, like as much as they can, right? So what is a bear raid? It just sounds funny. In a typical bear raid, short sellers may collude beforehand to establish a massive short position in the target stock, since a huge short interest in the stock increase the risk of a short squeeze that can inflict substantial losses on the shorts. The short sellers cannot afford to wait patiently for months until their shorts are out. Strategy works out. Wait, that's the wrong one. Okay, here we go. I read this wrong. On top, the short sellers make money by selling the shares first at what they believe is a high price, and then buying them back to close their position at a lower price. Okay, that's what I meant to say. So basically, easiest way to think about it is they're driving prices down. They either open a short position, or they are causing people to mass panic so they can buy back for a cheaper price. That's how they increase their holdings, right? But if people don't fall for it, if people do not panic sell, right, then they don't have that opportunity. They don't have that opportunity, and then they lose out. So every time they do it, they lose it. They lose a little bit more Bitcoin, a little bit more Bitcoin, a little bit more Bitcoin, right? So right now, that's what's happening. But I know that there are some newcomers coming into the space. I see in the comments like, oh, I bought a little high. I'm scared. What should I do, right? So I know for you long holders, this is nothing. This is nothing. We have sat through 30% days, minus 30% days. We have sat through minus 50% days. I remember those days when China first banned Bitcoin in 2017. Bitcoin literally fell down 50% within a single day. So think about that. So I have lived through that. And a lot of you guys have lived through 20, 30, 40% days as well. But for newcomers, you might not be used to a day like today. Actually, it's quite tame, because looking at a 24-hour mark, I mean, it's only down 7%. So actually, if you look at it that way, it's really, really tame, right? But what you don't want to do during this time is panic sell. What you want to do is actually the reverse, panic buy, right? This is the time to be buying. A lot of people keep asking, when things are going up, should I get in? Should I buy? Should I get in? Should I buy, right? When is the right time? Is Bitcoin going to dip? But then when a dip comes, they get nervous and they're like, well, is it going to dip more? Should I wait right now? Right? If you have an opportunity to buy something that's 20% off the top, you do so, right? So if anything, you should be panic buying and not panic selling. In fact, that's what I did. I bought little increments on the way down, right? Dollar cost average over today, right? And I know it's going to pay me back handsomely once Bitcoin recovers in short order. I know that's going to happen. That has always happened. If it doesn't happen instantly, well, wait one more day. If it doesn't happen that day, wait one more day. It's going to come back, right? So that's how you play the game. That's how you're in it for the long haul. You don't want to fall for your emotions. If you do, you're going to get wrecked. If you panic sell every time there's a small dip or correction, right? And you only buy when there's a massive pump, you're doing it wrong. You're doing it reverse, right? So you're buying high and selling low. No, you want to do the opposite. You buy low and sell high, right? So hopefully Hopefully this message gets across to some of you guys that are new in this space. I know those of you guys are holders. This is really nothing, right? But for those of you guys that are new, hopefully it helps you a little bit. But looking at the damage that has been done, okay, I'm just going to say damage. Overall market cap unfortunately fell down from its 1.1 trillion that we saw recently. Now it's down to about 967 billion. So we lost a couple billion, couple hundred billion, right? Which is not good, down 12%. But this is a perfect example, right? When you have very good days for altcoins, they do very well and they can outperform Bitcoin. But when you have a down day like today, the reverse happens, right? So most of the dip that we are seeing right now, of course, Bitcoin is down, but you could see some of the others are falling down even more, right? This is perfectly normal, and this is why holding a lot of altcoins sometimes can be very frustrating. But Ethereum is down 15%, XRP down 16%, Litecoin down 19%, Cardano down 16%, Polkadot 17%. I mean, within a few percentage points of Bitcoin, so it's not too bad, right? But there are some that are much more. So sometimes, you have to take the good with the bad, right? Some of you guys are getting more into altcoins, diversifying a little more. That's okay, but you got to watch out for these kind of days too. When Bitcoin takes a breather, right, it's very, very, very rare, almost next to impossible, where Bitcoin retraces and altcoins do not. That's impossible. So basically, if Bitcoin goes down, altcoins will follow. If Bitcoin goes up, normally altcoins follow, but sometimes altcoins doesn't because Bitcoin is so strong. So got to watch out for that. Daily, appreciate that. I bought this Bitcoin dip in a big bag of bet. Let's go. Good for you. That's how you're supposed to do it. Now, there's two other things I want to show you guys that hopefully reassure some of you guys that just don't believe that this is temporary and that, we're not going to crash down to like $1,000. Two things that are very interesting. Number one, I just found this. This article talks about how the bulls, the institutions, okay, the huge whales for Bitcoin have been increasing by quite a bit. So the number of addresses that hold anywhere from 1,000 Bitcoins to 10,000 Bitcoins, so that's a huge spread, by the way, but anywhere from 39,600,000 to 396 million. So as you can see, you have to be basically an institution to have this much, right? To be a whale, like a normal trader or a holder, to have this much would be very, very rare. But anyways, to be within this margin has increased within just a matter of a month. 128 new whales have entered the market. Okay, that's a lot. So if you add it up, it's over $5 billion in total for Bitcoin. So as you can see, the whales coming in is increasing. These are the guys that just keep accumulating. These are not the guys that are selling on these days. They're panic buying these days. And that's how you have to do it. You have to buy during these dips. You don't sell during these dips, right? Donnie, yep, I appreciate that. I agree. Abe, the Sausage King of Chicago. The Sausage King. Wow. Hopefully that's a business. But yeah, I mean, these are the guys you got to follow, right? And not to mention tomorrow and this whole week, I believe Grayscale, their clients is going to go bonkers. All right, bonkers in terms of mass buying, as much buying as they can. Because in December alone, Grayscale purchased almost 3x the amount that the miners produced in total for the month. Grayscale bought 3 times as much. And this is not going to stop. If you compare the December buys to the November buys, it literally doubled, right? So in November, Grayscale bought like 40 something thousand. In December, they bought 73,000. And in January, that number is probably going to go up to like 100,000. So the wealthy, the institutions, they keep buying. They're not panicking. They have some of the strongest hands on earth, and they've been doing this for a long time, and a lot longer than, quite frankly, most of us, right? So this is another reason why you don't want to fall for these bear raid type games. You want to actually follow what they're doing and actually buy when you can. You want to buy low, sell top, right? That's the name of the game. Not the opposite. You don't want to buy high and sell low, right? Then you're doing it wrong if that happens. So just keep that in mind. All right, guys. Let's do some Q&A. And today I'm actually not drinking. All right, because a lot of people seem to think I'm an alcoholic, so I'm just drinking Diet Coke for this stream. So I'm not even drinking a beer. Even yesterday I was just drinking a Miller Lite, and people were like, "Oh, you drink too much." It's just one single beer, guys. But anyways, I changed to Diet Coke. So let's do some Q&A. And hopefully you guys watched my earlier video from today, because that was where, I was planning on talking about Bitcoin, but then EOS came out, right? The big news with Dan Larimer. And if you guys didn't watch that stream, talk about it. I don't want to go too much into that, but let's just say that I'm officially off the EOS bandwagon. I've been kind of neutral with them because I've noticed they haven't done a whole lot. But I'm officially off, very pissed off at Dan and what he did. And basically, if you have EOS, you should do what this thumbnail says. Sell it and buy Bitcoin, especially now. Especially now. You'll thank me later. That will be the best thing you do. Not financial advice, though. Eric says, JP Morgan hyping up BTC just to sell before. I doubt JP Morgan actually has any significant amount. Gunners asks, can you explain how you dollar cost average over the next 12 to 24 hours? Example, 5 or 10,000 to spend and buy. This is according to your budget, guys. All right. Don't think that you have to buy thousands or tens of thousands or whatever. It's whatever you could afford. It could be $100, it could be $1,000, $5,000, like you said, right? But I would look for a certain percentage, right? I showed you guys from 42,000 all the way down to about 3430, 3450, 500, something around there. It's about 20% drop. So you could do like a 10%. Or even a 20%. I think 20% is too vast, but like a 10%, right? So you could calculate, okay, if it goes down 10%, I could buy a little bit. If it goes down another 10%, I could buy a little bit, right? So in terms of spreading out your buys, it really depends on how much you want to spread. I would say minimum, whatever you have, at least have enough to spread it out 5 ways. So if you do have $1,000, right, do 200 increments. 200 after 10%, 200 after 10%, 200 after 10%. I mean, because if you split it 5 ways, basically Bitcoin could go down 50% and you still have enough to buy, right? So you would basically dollar cost average a 50% drop. That's really, really hard. Like I said, I've only seen it once. When China declared they banned Bitcoin, it dropped 50% literally within hours, but then it literally jumped back up within hours too, right? So you just have to find what's right for you. But I would say, find a good percentage point. Don't be too low. Like if you're trying to dollar cost average every 5%, you're going to run out of money, right? Do like 10%, 50%, 20%. Find a good spread, right? And then spread out your buys. I would say at least 5-fold. If you want to be more conservative, go 10-fold, right? If you have $1,000, do $100 buys, right? Something like that. So, I mean, in fact, today I mentioned I was dollar cost averaging today. That's what I've been doing, right? I've been taking not small amounts, decent amount sizes, but I spread them out, right? And so far, I think today I bought, twice or 3 times, right? I'm being a little bit more aggressive because for me, I think we're going to see that V-shaped recovery, something like this, pretty substantially. And pretty fast. and it's going to be pretty substantially. So I do think that after this, Bitcoin will get ready for the next leg up. So I've been a little bit more aggressive, but does not mean everyone else should be, right? So do what you feel comfortable. Joey asks, hey George, would you sell your VET, Stellar, and a few other alts to buy BTC? It depends on your portfolio makeup. I said recently it's okay to be a little bit more diversified, but I think 75-25 is the max in terms of 25 being altcoins, 75% in Bitcoin, right? So if you're beyond that, then, I think maybe you could cut down your altcoins a little bit. But in terms of, if you already have a low amount, should you sell the Bitcoin? And that's a hard decision, right? If you're in the green, why not? But if you're in the red still, then you might as well wait it out, right? Just let BTC do its thing. Eventually, alts will catch up, right? So again, it depends on your situation. Gunner, no problem. Like for me, honestly, yeah, Eric has it right. For me, honestly, I used to be like back in 2017, when I started this channel streaming, I would say 50, 25, 25, right? 50% in Bitcoin, 25 big caps, 25% small caps. And it worked out great during like a really good altcoin season. But afterwards, we know that altcoins dropped like literally 99%, while Bitcoin dropped about 85%, but Bitcoin has come up. Obviously, Bitcoin has basically doubled from its all-time high, when a lot of altcoins is still down 60, 70%. Now, some of them have made some traction recently. Some have made their new all-time high too, but for the most part, altcoins is still kind of stuck in a rut. So you still have to be careful with them. You don't want to go too heavy, too all in, especially during this period where Bitcoin has all the momentum and it just keeps going up, right? So you have to be careful. But recently I've been noticing a lot of other people starting to give big numbers, like Ethereum's gonna go to $50,000. Like, no, that's not gonna happen, if ever. They're not just I don't know if they're doing it as a clickbait, but if you do simple math, you times 50,000 times the number of Ethereum tokens out there, the market cap would become way, way, way too big. And that's not going to happen anytime soon. So you just got to be careful when people are telling you, oh, something's going to go to 50,000. You better do your own math. Budget FPV. Trust and Litecoin. Almost the same increase over the last 6 months. Almost. Okay. I'll give you that. But what about if you go back 2 years, 3 years, 5 years? Then Litecoin pales in comparison. So it depends. Shorter periods. When I say shorter periods, it could be months. It could be 3 months, 6 months. There could be something that outperforms Bitcoin. But as the period gets longer and longer, nothing comes close. Nothing comes close. Don't ask me that, and Daniels, after I just said what I said. Wake up world, maybe someday. I don't know what islands you're talking about. So maybe you could clarify. What's DCA? DCA is dollar cost average. Dollar cost average. So that means you're averaging for the long haul, right? You could basically set a schedule. So like every Monday, every Friday, you buy a little bit, and you don't care about the price. Okay, you don't care if Bitcoin's at 34,000, you don't care if it's at 50,000, or you don't care if it's at 10,000. You buy the same amount every single time, right? And you're dollar cost averaging over the long haul. That's what DCA is. I do get a little preachy at times, right? But hopefully you guys know that this comes from the heart, because this is what I'm doing. This is what I believe in, and I'm trying to help you guys stay in it. I know, again, long time holders, you're used to this. But there's a lot of newcomers. I could tell. my chat is exploding. I could see a lot of newbie or noobish questions, and that's okay. Not everyone learns at the same pace. Not everyone learns at the same time, right? So for people that are new in the game, this is scary, especially if they bought at 40,000 and now it's down literally like 20%, right? But just know that Bitcoin is volatile, but that is also why we're in it. It could go down 20%, but then right afterwards, it could go up 40%, right? This is the reason why we're in Bitcoin. It's fun. It can lead to life-changing wealth, right? For many of us. But for the big corporations, for the institutions, they see it differently. They're buying. They're buying as a hedge against inflation. They're buying due to uncertainty, economic uncertainty, and they're basically buying as schmuck insurance. That's the best way to put it. As Chamath puts it, schmuck insurance. And the schmucks are the feds and the central banks and the governments of the world. So that's why they're doing it. So many people are doing it for different things, right? JB, I appreciate that. Hopefully you didn't make the wrong move. Trust me. Once you change your mentality, okay? Once you change your mentality, things get so much easier and so much less stressful, okay? And what I mean by that is if you program yourself, and it took me a very long time to realize this, if you program yourself to think about getting excited when things go down because it gives you an opportunity to buy cheap, right? That's the way to do it, because then you know when it comes back up, you're going to be making massive amount of money, right? That's how you do it. If you're buying, okay, if you're buying high and it just slightly increases up, you know what? Yes, you don't lose out, but for those people that want to accumulate as much Bitcoin as possible, right? You want to buy cheap Bitcoin. Days like today are really a godsend, a gift, because they're not going to come very often. Just think about how fast Bitcoin has risen up from 20,000 to now, right? It wasn't too long ago. We were just under 20,000. In fact, that was December 16th. That's less than a month. So for a lot of people, they've been sitting on the sidelines waiting, thinking that Bitcoin will fall back down below 20,000. That's just not going to happen, right? So while this is going up, people have been waiting. So if you can change your mindset to get excited on the dips, because you know you can dollar cost average or buy the dips, buy the lows, right? You go profit from that because you know Bitcoin's going to go higher. It has happened for 12 straight years. It has never failed, right? Even though there's periods where it could be down and low, right? But guess what happens? It always comes back up. And right now, this is when the train already left the station, right? With the institutions FOMOing in, with public traded companies FOMOing in. And I stand by this. Tesla and Elon is going to make an announcement in the near future. I'm going to stand by this. This is going to happen. Tesla has been going up to the moon, and Elon keeps talking more and more about Bitcoin and crypto. So I know he has the conversation with Michael Saylor already. I know he's thinking about it. And a great way to drive Tesla up even more is to say a number of things. Number one, you could buy their cars with Tesla on their website. That would be a huge thing. Number two, Tesla has $20 billion of cash in reserves. He can dedicate some of that to buy Bitcoin like Michael Saylor did. Or Elon himself could say, I'm putting some of my own net worth into Bitcoin. One of those three things is going to happen in the near future. Most likely number one, but two or three could also happen. And that is going to be a tremendous thing. That would almost like literally double Bitcoin overnight, because people know if Tesla's doing it, right, other people will follow. Not that, I'm not trying to say that Bitcoin needs it, but I really feel like that is coming down the road, and that would literally push Bitcoin above $100,000, right? And I made a prediction recently, I think yesterday, that I do believe Bitcoin is on track to hit $100,000 by the end of April. That is my prediction. I think 50,000 is right around the corner. After 50,000, you know what? It's going to be stair climb, 60,000, 70,000. And with these figures so high, every 5 to 10% move, the dollar amount gets bigger and bigger and bigger, right? So I do think that's coming, and I'm really looking forward to that. Eric, I hope you're facetious. Do not do that. Do not sell your Bitcoin to the bankers. That's what you don't want to do. Yeah, a lot of people tune in. 2,600 people. This is a record. This is even more people than when Bitcoin hit 42,000. See, I could tell there's more people that are worried right now because there's a lot of newcomers in this space. But the funny thing is, the real funny thing is, the number of new people coming in right now is still Blade Runner. Finally, I'm glad to hear you say something positive. Because every single question you have before was about when was the next dip. Don't you think we're too overbought? Well, I'm glad to see you say that. But here's the thing. You look at Google search trends, right? Bitcoin, the number of searches for Bitcoin has been high. So there are newcomers coming into the space, but it still pales to 2017. We're nowhere close. The number of newcomers coming in is increasing, no doubt, but nowhere close to the peak of 2017. And that will come. That will come. There's going to be a lot more newcomers in the space. And that also helps, of course, drive Bitcoin higher. Right now, I haven't heard PayPal release their numbers yet. I'm waiting for their Q4 numbers to come out because I'm almost positive their Q4 numbers for Bitcoin revenue and profits is going to be through the roof. And it's going to send PayPal up, right? Just like Square, just like their Bitcoin revenue and Bitcoin trading has shot them up. And let's not forget, Square bought $50 million worth of Bitcoin for their reserves, right? Just PayPal alone, just their users, the number of new users coming in already exceeds the number that is being mined per month, right? So think about everyone competing for the same pot. You have Grayscale and their clients that's already purchasing 3 times the amount. And you have PayPal and Square and Robinhood and all these other financial apps buying more than available. And you have retail investors and holders and publicly traded companies that are all trying to buy this. So every new Bitcoin that's being mined is already reserved. It's gone. You're not going to get any of the new Bitcoins. Everyone is fighting the same pot right now. That 18.5 million, which is really like 15 million because of how much is lost. Everyone is fighting that pot. So what the whales want you to do is give up your Bitcoin to them. You're transferring your wealth. Basically, you're transferring millions and millions of dollars to them because one Bitcoin could be worth more than $1 million in the future. So you're basically transferring your life-changing wealth, your millions to them by having a weak hand and by selling. And that's what you don't want to do. You want to be the strong hand. You want others to sell to you. You want to be the one buying. That's the way to do it. That's the way to do it for those of you guys that are new. Ozzy had 1985. You think the price is controlled by people trying to sell to potential big players at a discount, i.e. institutions? No. Right now, no. It's a free market, but I know whales have a lot more Bitcoins than a lot of us. They could be early miners. They could be, early traders or whatever. They have a huge amount. But they're losing their control because no matter how much they have, it pales to how much institutions have, right? And that is why they're losing. Thank you for that super chat. Because every time they do this, you know what? It comes right back up, a V-shaped recovery, right? And guess why it does a V-shaped recovery? Why does Bitcoin does a V-shape? Why doesn't it just drop to zero? Because there's people that's buying and buying and buying, and that is the reason why. it basically covers right away. So, like this dip right here, right? Yeah, after the dip, maybe it took a day, but then boom. Why did it go up 40%, right? This is just a game. They're trying to make you sell your Bitcoins, and you don't want to fall for that. But every time they do this, they're losing more than they gain if you have strong hands. Not only do you not sell, but you also buy, then it makes it harder for them to buy back cheaper. In fact, they end up losing Bitcoins. They can't buy any back cheaper, right? So if they keep doing this, they're just going to lose their leverage, they're going to lose their Bitcoins, and then eventually you're not going to see much of these 20% drops anymore. And then, things will just keep going up and up slowly and steady. But I think as Bitcoin gets higher and higher, eventually that's what's going to happen anyways. JJ, I appreciate that. This is called TradingView. So you could go to tradingview.com and look at any charts, not just crypto, stocks too. But it's free. But if you want a lot of indicators, then you do have to pay for it. Blockchain, I appreciate that, but it is climbing. Recently, it's been climbing a lot more, right? Obviously, I'm more based on fundamentals. A lot of these other guys like to throw big numbers and predictions and stuff like that. It's helping them draw in a little bit more subscribers and viewers than I am. But, hopefully you guys know, I cover the fundamentals. I believe in Bitcoin, right? I believe it's going to go much higher, and I'm here to help anyone stay the course. Stay the course. The more people that stay the course and have stronger hands, the more it's going to benefit the whole community, everyone overall, right? If everyone is holding and no one is selling, guess what happens? Bitcoin's price goes to the moon, and that's what we all want to see. Felix, that's what you don't want to do. You don't want to buy low. You don't want to buy high and sell low. That's not what you want to do. Chappie, that's a good number. That's a good number. Congratulations. I know a lot of people secretly telling me, George, I'm a millionaire now and this and that. A lot of people have been listening not only to me, but just listening to themselves and basically dollar cost averaging over the long haul last 3 years, or buying the dips, and now they're freaking millionaires, right? And they should stay that way. They should not just disclose it to everyone because that's not a good idea. But there's a lot of people like that. And you guys could be like that too. Renan, appreciate that. Right now, as high as Bitcoin is, 35,000, and we were just at 42,000, as high as that is, right? Keep in mind, I believe 50,000 is right around the corner. 100,000 is right around the corner. And I believe we're going to go much higher. And not just from me. Some of the most wealthy and influential and smartest financial people on earth think that, right? You have Guggenheim, their CIO, Chief Investment Officer, Scott Miner, that says when you compare Bitcoin, their scarcity versus gold, Bitcoin should be worth $400,000. This is straight from his mouth. This is not an analyst. This is not some nobody on YouTube telling you it's going to go to $400,000. This is the chief investment officer, one of the biggest financial investment firms on earth that's saying this, okay? And it's not just him. Paul Tudor Jones, which thinks Bitcoin is like the early internet days, right? You got Bill Miller, who now says Bitcoin is rat poison for cash. And you have many others that believe the same thing, right? And banks that are falling in line, JP Morgan says Bitcoin should be worth $146,000. It's a very particular number. Why 146, not 150 or something? Citibank says Bitcoin should be worth $300,000, right? All these guys are getting in, right? So this is very different in 2017. You got to follow what these guys are doing. Big money, smart money, institutional money. They're not dummies. They're getting in and they plan on holding for a very long time, just like Mass Mutual. A 169-year-old insurance company. They have billions upon billions upon billions of investments, and they plan on buying Bitcoin. No, they did buy Bitcoin, and they plan on holding for 5 to 10 years. They already said that. Jefferies, they said that too. They're actually doing it with one of their pension funds. Okay? They're actually selling gold to buy Bitcoin. And they plan on holding that for decades. They haven't moved that fund. They haven't changed that fund for 20 years. And now they're adding Bitcoin to it. And they say they plan on adding even more because they're only doing 5% and they're going to add up. These guys, they're holding for long haul, right? That is the way we should do it. The holders, right? We need to hold. The longer you hold, the more money you're going to make. Now, I've rambled on a lot. Let me show you one other thing that should get you guys excited. Homie Meister, appreciate that. Kenneth, I bought so much DOT and KSM on this dip. Like the channel, do you think ETH and alts are going to take off while Bitcoin chills out next? It depends. It depends on how much they chill out. Polkadot and Kusama, which a lot of people introduced me to, you know, they're good. They're good altcoins, right? But altcoins struggle when Bitcoin goes up. But altcoins usually generally do well when Bitcoin just stalls out, consolidates. Not dips, because like today when Bitcoin's dipping, everything dips, right? But like if Bitcoin stalls out, let's say at 50,000 or 60 or 75,000, a lot of that money is going to flow into altcoins. And that's great. Altcoin holders, you'll see your altcoins fly up 20, 30% a day, right? That's what a lot of you guys are waiting for. But, you know, you have to wait sometimes. All right. So for you newcomers that haven't seen me show this before, right? This is the last 4-year cycle versus the current 4-year cycle. And I'm showing you this because this may be, well, first of all, our 4-year cycle is mimicking the last 4-year cycle almost identically. Second of all, this may be the last time, honestly, this may be the last time we see a cycle like this. There will always be cycles because there's always going to be a halving event every 4 years. The next one is in 2024. Actually, let me see if I could get the countdown. Bitcoin having countdown. Oh, I don't want, okay, this will do, right? So in 1,161 days, 2 hours, 35 minutes, basically the number of Bitcoins that will be released per block will be 3.125. And the number produced per day will drop from 900 down to 450, okay? And that's going to happen in less than 4 years now. Less than 4 years. So there will always be that catalyst that drives Bitcoin even higher because it's getting more rare. It just keeps getting more rare. That's one of the beauties of Bitcoin, the genius of Satoshi, to be able to program this in here, to have the insight to say, okay, every 4 years, let's make it more and more difficult, right? So that will never change. But what I'm talking about is every 4 years now, this 85, 86% drop after peak, I believe we may never see that again. I honestly believe so because of what I just said about institutions, right? So the last 4-year cycle, last 4-year cycle, not the current one we're in, but from 2013 to 2017, Bitcoin went from $1,200 down to $160, down to 86%. Took about 1,000 days to get back to the original high, and then it went up 1,500% from basically $1,200 all the way up to $20,000. Went about 1,500%, and that actually took an entire year. And that was basically all of 2017. Right? 2017 for Bitcoin was basically parabolic, but not really. Because I mentioned early on about how when China declared they were going to sell Bitcoin or to go ban Bitcoin, a 50% drop. Yeah, those days came, right? But if you zoom out, it looks like it's just all the way up. But that was the last 4-year cycle. This 4-year cycle, pretty much identical. Down 85% from its highs. Of course, we know it went down to about 3,100. No, it didn't go down to 0. No, it didn't go down to 1,300 like some people predicted. We found a bottom at 3,100. And it took us roughly 1,000 days to get back to its previous highs, just like before. So you could see the two are rhyming. I drew these lines out last January, so it's been 1 full year. 1 full year, okay? In terms of where I thought Bitcoin was going to go, right? I was wrong a little bit over here when we had COVID, and of course, everything was selling off. Bitcoin dipped down a little bit, but Bitcoin is resilient and it never dies. This is why it pays to hold and dollar cost average and buy lows, because it just keeps going up and up and up. And you can see that recently, not only did it catch up to my prediction, it's beyond it, right? So we're actually really ahead of the game already, being that it's only the second week of 2021. But if Bitcoin goes up the same amount of percentage, 1,500% from basically 20,000, it's going to be at 400,000. So this is exactly what Scott Miner was saying from Guggenheim, right? Bitcoin can end up being at $400,000 by the end of this cycle. And if it does happen, right, and all the institutions and public trade companies are holding Bitcoin, who's going to be selling? Who's going to be selling, right? Not a whole lot, because this was driven by retail FOMO. And retail FOMO, let's be honest, retail investors, they get weak. They have weak hands when things start coming down, right? So they mass panic sell when you're not supposed to do that. You're supposed to be mass panic buying. But that's the reason why we always have these 4-year cycles, because after the peak, Bitcoin comes down because some whales start selling, causing massive FUD, and then you know what? The whole cycle starts over again, right? But this time around, what we're seeing right now is not driven by retail FOMO. I proved it to you. I mean, the interest right now is nowhere near 2017. Maybe you'll get to it, but right now, it's all institutional FOMO. And they are the ones that have the strongest hands. So once this goes up here, let's just say it goes $400,000. Who knows? Maybe it'll go to $1 million. I don't know. Maybe it can. But this 86% drop afterwards, that may never happen. We could just see Bitcoin literally go sideways or just go slowly up after this. There could be a chance that we just don't see a significant drop down. Maybe a little bit, maybe another 20% drop, maybe a 30% drop. That would be fine. But I just don't see how Bitcoin's going to fall down 86% again when there's like basically a mass competition right now to accumulate as much Bitcoin as possible. I just don't see it. And especially among the biggest and wealthiest companies out there, right? So that also gets me very excited right now. I mean, it's very exciting to think about what may happen a year from now. By this time in 2022, right? We've been waiting for 3 years for this year to happen. 2020 happened. The pandemic, if you think about it, was the best thing that could have happened for Bitcoin in 2020. It caused Bitcoin to skyrocket due to distrust in the dollar, in the federal government, and in with central banks, right? It moved us forward in a big way, and I can't wait to happen. I can't wait to see what happens in 1 year, because this point next year, when I'm streaming, this number could literally be 10x higher than here. We could literally be at 380,000 or 400,000, and things will be totally different then. It'll be very, very, very different, because at that point, Bitcoin will be very close, if not, no, actually at that point, I don't think Bitcoin will even surpass gold yet. I think I did a calculation. Bitcoin has to be above $600,000 to surpass gold, right? So by the end of this year, we could see Bitcoin being close, at least close, maybe not surpass gold, but it'll be so close. It'll be so close. It basically shuts down all naysayers. People like Peter Schiff, they would literally have nothing to say, right? There can be no more naysayers that say, oh, Bitcoin is just a giant bubble, it's a Ponzi, it's going to go down. Literally, no. When you have a 9, 10, 11 trillion dollar market cap, those kind of arguments just go away, right? So I can't wait to see that. 3,300 people watching. Wow. Thanks for tuning in. This is my all-time high. This is the highest ever. So I know a lot of you guys are new to the channel. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, right? Smash up the likes, and follow me on Twitter and Facebook so you don't miss out on any of my live streams. I do plan on having one tomorrow at 11 a.m. So, but it's a good thing I don't get a lot of sleep. These days, I don't get a lot of sleep at all. Who can sleep when Bitcoin forms like a new high literally like every single day? I gotta zoom in here. Zoom in. Claudio, thank you. NEO stock a good pick. NEO is an off chance gamble at what Tesla has done. I mean, that's why people are investing in NEO. It's like the Chinese version of a Tesla startup. They have a lot of promise. They're tiny right now, but people are comparing Tesla. Basically look at what they have done. So NEO could be like that too. That's why NEO has gone up in such a big way. So people that buy NEO is just basically is trying to catch the next Tesla, right? It could happen. It could not happen. I don't know. Justin, thank you for that. I appreciate it. Vegas Fund. Vegas Fund. I took out my QR code because I don't want to seem like too scammy, like with the QR code up. But those of you guys that want to contribute to the Vegas Fund, because I do plan on going to Vegas with a lot of you guys having a good old time after the pandemic is over. I do have a Vegas Fund BTC address in the description of this video, or you can just super chat me or whatever. It's all going into the Vegas Fund. We're going to meet up later on this year. We're going to have a good old time, and I'm also looking forward to that too. What's up? What's up with Stellar Lumens? Well, a couple things. Number one, they went down because of the XRP lawsuit. But then they kind of recovered up a little bit because they were just too oversold. And then Ukraine said that they're going to utilize Stellar to at least get the project to help them develop their own crypto, right? So it's obvious that that's probably going to be built on top of the Stellar blockchain, and it's going to be some kind of token. But I don't know if it's actually, actually I take that back. I don't know if that's actually 100%, right? I don't know if they're going to rely and trust on the Stellar blockchain. If they do, that'll be a huge thing for Stellar. But I know the team has been contracted to help the Ukrainian government to create that, which is a big thing. It's a big thing. That's why they shot up recently. So. There's a lot of funny comments in here that I can't repeat. Michael, appreciate that. What is the summary of this video? I guess, yeah, that's a good point. I didn't talk about warning. Do not do this during a Bitcoin dump. What you don't want to do is panic sell. That's what you don't want to do. You want to panic buy. You want to not fall for your emotions. You don't want to fall for your emotion like, oh, panic, I'm panicking. I need to sell because it could go down to zero. No, that's not what you want to do. There's actually a definition for that called bear raid. What the whales are doing is basically they're colluding or they're doing themselves. They're opening a short position. They want you to sell, right? And then they go buy back. They go buy back because they're going to buy cheap Bitcoins. They want you to transfer your wealth to them. That's what they want you to do. So you don't want to do that. You want to do the opposite. You want to panic buy. You want to stick it to the whales that are doing this. You want to stick it to them and say, hey, thank you for the cheap Bitcoins. I'm going to take that from you, right? And I'm going to benefit. I'm going to profit a lot more than you because I'm going to see Bitcoin come right back up with a V-shaped recovery. And now I have made thousands or tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands or millions by doing so. And that is exactly what the institutions are doing. And institutional investors and wealthy investors. They are the most disciplined at this. They're playing a long game. They're playing a long game and they're accumulating. They will love to see this. I bet you tomorrow, Grayscales get a ton of calls tomorrow saying buy, right? I have this buy bell that I didn't use. I'm gonna program an electronic version of this into my stream. But this is what the institutions are gonna be doing tomorrow. They're gonna be buying Bitcoin. It doesn't matter if tomorrow Bitcoin is at 35,000 or 30,000 or 40,000. They're gonna be buying because there's just so little of it left. Right? There's really, really little of it left. And this is really like, like almost like Cold War among countries, individuals, countries that are trying to stockpile the number of Bitcoin they have. I mean, it's a land grab. It's just a grab overall, right? So, Kevin, appreciate that. Where do you see Litecoin and Link end of the year? That's a tough one. Did I miss? I missed the super chat. Oh, Tim, thank you. I just saw it. Appreciate that. So Viet also. Okay, so thank you for those super chats. Thank you for Vegas funds. I still think Marshawn, I'm a little more aggressive than you. I think it's gonna be 100,000 by April, end of April. But Litecoin and Link. Litecoin is a enigma at this point. I don't like Charlie Lee, but I do think that Litecoin is a store of value just like Bitcoin, so has the potential to go up, right? But Litecoin is still lower than our all-time high in 2017. So that should put things into perspective. That Bitcoin has literally doubled from their high from 2017, where Litecoin is still lower than their all-time high from 2017. So that kind of puts it into perspective, altcoin versus Bitcoin. The performance over long haul, nothing compares to Bitcoin, right? But if Bitcoin ends the year at $400,000, so let's just say more than 10x from here, can Litecoin go 10x to 1,400, 1,500? Maybe. I would say more reasonably, Litecoin will probably be like $1,000 by the end of the year, but it depends on altcoin season. If altcoin season comes full bloom at the end of 2020, end of 2021, excuse me, we're in 2021 already, then Litecoin can be at $1,500, right? The key thing is you have to make sure that what you're holding in terms of altcoin can outperform Bitcoin, because if it doesn't, you're losing out. Then you rather just hold Bitcoin, right? The key thing is to gain on Bitcoin, and you have to make sure that happens. And I'm not sure Litecoin could do that. Honestly, I'm not sure if it could do that. It'll go up in value, but whether or not it can outperform Bitcoin, that's a whole other story. Chainlink, on the other hand, I don't know. They have pumped up so high so fast. They made a new all-time high. They were in the 30s, but since then they have really, really become weak. So I don't know what happened. It could be because Chainlink was seen as a DeFi play, and DeFi is not very hot right now. So that's the thing. But Chainlink is a great project that's way beyond just DeFi. So I think that is the thing. They got labeled as a DeFi project, but they're really not. So at the end of the year, if they pick up again, you know what? They could keep up with the rest of the market, but I don't know. Can they go 10x from here, go to $150? Well, if Bitcoin goes to 400,000, I'll just say yes. They could probably 10x from here. So let's do that. And they asked, what about Ethereum? Well, Ethereum, I know a lot of people recently very excited about Ethereum, creating all these clickbait videos. Ethereum's going to go to 27,000 or 50,000. Let's hold our horses there. It's not going to do that by the end of 2021, if ever at all. You have to realize Ethereum's circulating supply keeps going higher, right? There is inflation built in. Right now it's about 4% or 8%, right? So it does go higher, but at its current rate, you got to multiply, right? If you multiply 27,000 or 50,000 by 114 million, you're talking about trillions already. That's not going to happen in 2021. But what could it be realistically end up at? I mean, if it goes 10x from here, it'll be 10,000, 11,000. Maybe, but I just don't think so, because there's so much competition. Ethereum doesn't compete with Bitcoin. I don't care what anyone says. Ethereum is not a store of value. It's a utility token. It's supposed to be a utility token. And it's a protocol. It's a blockchain that is meant to host dApps. It's easy as that, right? And that has a lot of competition. Bitcoin has no competition. There's basically no store of value that's anywhere close. Litecoin is the second biggest, and you could see the difference between Litecoin and Bitcoin. But Ethereum, on the other hand, a lot of close competition. Cardano, Polkadot, right? Even Stellar. Even you can think about XRP, because their new Flare network, that's going into smart contracts, right? All these. EOS, well, they're no longer competition. They're garbage now since Dan left. But even Tron, NEM, Tezos, arguably Theta, Neo, VeChain, all these guys, they're all protocols. They're all trying to eat up or catch up to Ethereum, right? So 2021 will be interesting. Cardano should finally be done, so let's see what Cardano could do. Polkadot and Kusama is already done. Neo, I don't know, Neo 3.0 is supposed to be done. I think they're in testnet pretty soon. VeChain, of course, is done already. Tezos is done. A lot of these guys are done, right? So it's just a massive competition to see who can gain the most market share. BCH is trash. That is 100% right. That's 100% right. Matt Moore, appreciate it. I'm worried about Tether. Well, here's the easiest way to think about it, right? The overall market cap is at $1 trillion. Bitcoin itself is at 700 billion. Okay? 25 billion of Tether is not going to be able to drive Bitcoin to these heights or drive the entire market cap of all of crypto to $1 trillion. So just think about that, okay? This did not happen. If Tether was at $600 billion equal to Bitcoin, then I would say we have a problem. Then you can see 1 for 1, basically all of Tether is going into Bitcoin, pumping it up. But that is not the case. That is not the case. So whatever happened with Tether in 2017, whether or not it was a driving force to get Ethereum to blow up or get Bitcoin to blow up, that's the past. Now is now. Tether is not driving things higher anymore, okay? Well, it is, but in a legit manner, okay? not in the way that people are trying to FUD, so. Oops, I unhid. I did a wrong thing there. There we go. Mamba for life, man. I wish Kobe was still around. Man, I did link already. Vet and Zill. I can't speak to Zill. I think recently they've been pumping up for no good reason. That certain altcoins are being pumped up for no good reason. Vet should be in top 10. I've always said that. They have too big of a head start in China. They have a dominant position in China. It boggles my mind that something like Neo is higher than VeChain. Neo's not done. No one is using Neo. But you have some of the biggest multi-billion-dollar companies already partnered up with VeChain and using VeChain. That's a travesty that Neo still sits above VeChain. VeChain will go much higher. It'll be in the top 10. I think it'll probably happen once China goes all out with crypto. And they're already testing their digital yuan, so they're going to go all in on crypto, right? So I think VeChain, they're going to have their day. Do I still hit RSR? I don't have much to say about RSR, but I appreciate that. Do I still hate ETC? I don't hate any project except Bcash and Hex and BSV and maybe a little bit of XRP. No, not really. I don't hate ETC. Ethereum Classic is just a useless project. There's no reason for it to exist. Yes, it's the original Ethereum, right? Ethereum Classic follows the true code where the DAO hack still exists on the Ethereum Classic blockchain. I realize that. But that's the past. The future is obvious. Between Ethereum and Ethereum Classic, Ethereum won. Okay, and that's not going back. There's nothing Ethereum Classic could do that can ever overtake Ethereum. The case is closed. So what do they exist for? Nothing. So that is why I don't like Ethereum Classic. They don't exist for anything. They don't serve any purpose. You have to go with the purpose, right? I can't come up with any purpose for Ethereum Classic. Other than, the only one I can think of is once Ethereum truly goes to proof of stake, and all the miners, they have to mine something else, they go to something else to proof of work, then they're all going to transition to Ethereum Classic. That's the only thing I can think of. Those of you guys that tuned in late, You probably missed a lot. You missed a lot. Next time, be on time. No, just kidding. Make sure you subscribe and hit that notification bell. Although I keep constantly hearing that notifications do not work. So make sure you follow me on Facebook and Twitter because I put my videos on there so then you get double notification, right? But what you don't want to do during a Bitcoin dump, okay, is panic sell. This is pure manipulation. It's a definition called bear raid, right? And you don't want to fall for a bear raid, okay? You want to be part of the bull raid. You want to have strong hands. You don't want to give up your Bitcoins to the bears, okay? Or the manipulations, I should say, or in this case, the whales. You don't want to transfer your wealth. You want to keep it for yourself. You've been holding for this long, or even if you are a newcomer, right? That you learn about Bitcoin, you did your homework, you got in something fantastic. You don't want to lose. You don't want to lose your edge by having a weak hand and selling it to the whales and their manipulation. You're smarter than that. You're better than that. Don't fall for that trap. What you want to do is get into a mentality where you love these kind of dips. You look forward to them, so it gives you an opportunity to pick up more. That's what you need to train yourself to do. Michael, appreciate that. Hey, George, what is the best way to buy into small projects coins? I want to buy CHSB, Swissbergs, but I have a hard time finding exchange. Any pointers? Right now, most of the small ones that you don't find is usually on Uniswap, right? But I don't know what CHSB is, but okay, let's go to Swissberg. CMC actually does a pretty good job at listing most of the exchanges. So if you go to market, you can see, like I said, Uniswap, also KuCoin. KuCoin is relatively big, so I would trust that. Use KuCoin. HIT BTC is also pretty big, but there's always a lot of FUD around HIT BTC. So that's how you find the market for basically any coin that's listed. Now, not every coin is listed all the time, but if it's a ERC20 token, very, very, very likely that it will be listed on Uniswap. That's like the go-to place for basically all ERC20 tokens. So hopefully that helps. KuCoin is good. I like KuCoin. I actually like them a lot. How do you feel about taking profits? Right now, for me, I plan on holding a lot longer because I think this just begun. The Bitcoin bull run just begun, and it could end up being where this is a super cycle where Bitcoin never comes down. It just stays up forever. I just got done talking about that. Institutions are holding for a long haul. They might just hold forever. And Bitcoin never comes down significantly after it goes up after this year. So I plan on holding for long haul, right? But for those of you guys that are learning about trading, right? Then of course you need to read the charts and try to time top or bottom. But you know what? Sometimes that's just very, very hard. Very, very hard. Sometimes you get it right. Sometimes you get it wrong, right? So the people that made the most money with Bitcoin have been basically the long-term holders, right? So that's what I advocate. But if you want to trade, you could do so. But if you're a long-term holder and you're worried about profits, whether or not you should sell some to take some off the table, it depends on if you actually really need the money. Recently I've been hearing people saying, I sold my car, I took an equity loan, I'm doing this and this, and they argue how that's the right decision. To me, that'll never be the right decision. If you're investing more than what you could afford to lose, that's not the right direction. If you're selling your car and you're investing, you're taking an equity loan, you're over leveraging yourself because you can't actually afford to do so. You're taking a risk. So I don't advocate that. And if you are doing that because you want to get a quick buck and then sell, right? Then you're just really putting so much pressure on yourself and you're going to end up wrecking yourself, right? So if you're asking me that question, hopefully you're not trying to trade. But if you're asking as a long-term holder, if you don't need the money, just keep it in there. Let it ride because I think it's going to go much higher. That's my opinion, not financial advice. For me, I plan on holding for much, much, much longer. I'm really anxious to see where Bitcoin ends up at the end of the year in 2022, right? I think Bitcoin will be at least 10x more than what we see here. And when I have those kind of streams, it's going to be hard for me to say buy cheap Bitcoins. But but I will, because when we're at $350,000, $400,000, guess what? $1 million is right around the corner, right? So even then, maybe when Bitcoin is above $300,000, I'll still say grab your cheap Bitcoin while you can before it hits $1 million. Brandon, welcome back. A lot of people that stopped watching me, they're coming back because they've been out of it for a long time. I'm glad to see a lot of them come back, so welcome. Why do I hate Bitcoin Cash? Because it's garbage. Roger Ver did a contentious fork, tried to steal the Bitcoin name, right? Because it's a money grab. As if he doesn't have enough Bitcoin. He's a Bitcoin billionaire already. And as if he didn't have enough, him and Jihuan Wu from Bitmain caused a contentious fork. Guess what? Jihuan Wu got kicked out of Bitmain because he basically put all of their cash into Bitcoin Cash, tried to pump it up, right? And now he's gone. He's gone. Bitmain is one of the biggest Bitcoin miners. No, the biggest Bitcoin miner out there. And now he has lost his seat at the table because of his decision. And Roger Ver continues to back Bitcoin Cash. It's pointless. Pointless. He said, oh, Bitcoin Cash follows the Bitcoin white paper more. Well, guess what? He got outdone because Craig Wright says BSV follows the Bitcoin white paper more, right? Oh, Bitcoin Cash has bigger blocks than Bitcoin. Well, guess what? Bitcoin SV has bigger blocks than Bitcoin Cash. So what does Bitcoin Cash actually have? They have zero advantage. If you want to say, oh, it has bigger blocks, right? It follows the white paper more. Well, then you should go for BSV, not Bitcoin Cash. Bitcoin Cash is a failed experiment. I'm waiting for Roger Ver to admit that he made a mistake and that he comes back to Bitcoin, comes back to the right side, because it's pretty obvious that Bitcoin Cash was just one big cash grab, like a power play, and he overplayed it in hand. He and Jihuan Wu didn't have as much power as they thought they had. And one basically got kicked out, and another is just looking silly trying to promote Bitcoin Cash at this point. That's why I hate Bitcoin Cash. It's a ridiculous money grab project. All right, guys, that is it. That is it. I'll let you guys go. Overall, what you don't want to do during Bitcoin dip is fall for the traps, fall for the bear traps, fall for the bear rate trap, I should say, or fall for whale traps. What you want to do is smile, get excited, because it's actually a great buy opportunity. You could buy some cheap Bitcoins. It's a gift because we're not going to see much of these. On the way up, we haven't seen much of these at all. So what you want to do is take advantage while you can, right? Because Bitcoin is going to go much higher, much, much, much higher than where it is now, right? And you want to make sure you preserve your Bitcoin. You want to attain that life-changing wealth from Bitcoin, right? That's what we're all in it for, and that's what I plan on doing, and hopefully you guys will too. All right, guys, that is it. Thanks for watching. Make sure you smash up the like. Subscribe to the channel if you are new, right? Stay tuned. Tomorrow, I do have another live stream, 11 a.m. Central Standard Time, so we'll see where Bitcoin ends up tomorrow, basically 12 hours from now, and we'll see where it is, right? And, of course, I do have my Patreon page for those of you guys that are interested, some exclusive content, and you can chat with me and others. And if you want a crash course on Bitcoin, check out my Teachable page. All right, guys, until tomorrow, bye-bye.